So, hey guys, I just finished playing the new trial, the dual trial, I'll give you guys my thoughts on it. I hate this one. So, conceptually, it's fine, right? We're using, the world champions, or whatever, uh, but we're using their, decks, right? But their decks, honestly, for the most part, I hate them. So, we'll just go over all of them real fast. So, we have Fire King Snake Eye. I just don't really like Fire King Snake Eye, so this deck, honestly, it's not that bad. This is probably just fine, right? Not that big of a deal. This deck list just looks completely standard, but then this Vanquish Soul deck, this deck is just awful against every single other deck here. So, against Yubel, you have destruction effects against Yubel, destruction effects against Tyrlin, destruction effects against Salamangreat, destruction effects against Pearly. So let's pull this up real quick. My friend Pearly. If a face-up Pearly XYZ monster you control leaves the field because of an opponent's card, even during the Darren step, you can add up to 3 Pearly quick play spells with different names from your graveyard to your hand. Fun effect here. But essentially the thing here is that if you do not open Shifter, you lose against pretty much every other list here. You are in major disadvantage. And that is because this list only runs Soul Snow Devil, and it does not run the spell, the quick play that just Book of Moons your opponent's cards, which is just significantly better than destruction against every single one of these lists. So against Salamangreat, for example, there's certain extenders they could have, but if we just Book of Moon and have Resin Pop, that's enough to beat like 90% of these hands. And then against Tearlament, the Book of Moon on like a Kick Hellos, if your opponent does not have Perlarino, is about all we can hope for. That or we have Shifter. And then against this list here, which I mean, it would be technically an impossible matchup matching up against yourself. So for your own deck 2 to be played against your deck 1, but once again, destruction effects. Destruction effects. If we destroy some cards, like normally, the best point in general to destroy your opponent's cards would be to destroy their normal summon, and then hope they just have no extenders really. But if we destroy the normal summon, it triggers their extenders here, so not quite the best here. And also, we can trigger Kieran's non-targeting pop here, like inadvertently, and that gets rid of our field wipe, so we can't use it at a good timing. So yeah, that's also bad. And as for this, we can just simply say Salamangreat Balinks. This protects from being destroyed, so not exactly the best here. And then you have actually 0 draws off of Maxi. So normally this doesn't matter, right? So if we were playing in WCS, this is fine, right? Our hand traps here, because our opponent doesn't know what hand traps we are running, if like any at all. But in this case, tell me what hand traps do you see are activatable if we maxi here? Ash Blossom, Joy Spring, and nothing else. So that means if we are paired off against specifically this deck, for example, if our opponent grabs, well, if they have any way into grass, if you do not have Ash Blossom Joe Spring in your hand right now, as of this moment, you have no other good time to Ash against this deck, honestly, if they're going second against you, and they just get to resolve grass for free like every single time, and you have no like good interruptions against them unless you just simply opened Shifter. So against this list, you are absolutely cooked, because the only good hand trap you can draw into is Ash Blossom Joy Spring. And if you're against this deck and it's going second, it just has so many board breakers, you're just probably cooked. And all of these decks, just for the most part, have a pretty hefty back row weakness. But of course, there are no backer decks here, so no way to really abuse that weakness. Because, you know, it's not our deck building, and these decks are not built to be, like, playing into each other, so that's a bit miserable. I haven't really tested this list, but I assume this is just pretty normal summon grade, right? Activate Promethean Princess, and then you do, like, Raging Phoenix lines to, like, pop and stuff. You grab, like, Roar and Rage, I'm assuming, right? Wait, is it Rage? Yeah. So, looks pretty normal here. We have Top, Takatomborg to summon the Mirage Stalio. And in terms of hand traps, this one has the best ones. So we have Crow, uh, Ash Blossom Joe Spring, Ghost Spell, and Haunted Mansion, and then Maxi. So we have Bestials as well. So if we were to Crow, we can use Crow advantageously against every single deck here, honestly. So we can Crow the one of Flamberge, we can Crow the one of Grunex. Pretty good here. If normal summon Rosin, link off Rosin, you would usually do that to make sure you have 2 fires. For Xiaolong, so we can just Crow the Rosin, and that's good. Yubel, we can Crow the Spirit of Yubel, I believe, so that Gruesome Grave Squirmer cannot summon it back. And we have some bestials and stuff, right? So that's fine. And then against Pearly, we can banish their quick plays so that they are not activatable. So that is a pretty solid plan as well. And this is probably the most terrifying deck. Like, yeah, just looking at this outright, this is probably the one I would least want to play against on ladder. Going second Pearly is sketch, but yeah, whatever. Just thinking about this, so activate Book of Eclipse, your whole board is probably gone if you do not have a spell trap negate, and this is not hard once per turn, so there's a potential that our opponent here would have 2 Book of Eclipses, and then they just simply like make a several material Zeus, like Downward Zeus, maybe do a bit more, whatever. Then you have to contest this, and then whatever else they do. Aside from that, right? There isn't that much in the way of backer removal in any of these decks. So in this one, we have a 60 card with, let's see, 0 spell trap removal, I believe, right? 0. The only thing you might have is a Perlarino, so that's whatever. And then here we just have the Heavy Storm that you just have to hard open. And then here we have Fire King Skyburn. And then you have like some extra deck cards like SP, which you might be able to access, but for the most part, very bad matchups. Going second for the most part, except for like this deck. Uh, back row would just cook you, right? And there's like 0 back row removal here. Yeah, it is just Escape with Unchained, basically. Assuming we're using like some powerful back row, like I don't know, let's say macro, deck lockdown, could be whatever, right? And it'd be fairly effective against all of these decks. But just in general, all of the matchups here that we have, it's just not very good. So this deck, I think, really bad. This deck, it's probably okay. It's just Fire King Snake Eye. But let's see, it's a bad matchup against, I think. So this deck, if it specifically opens Crow, it's not that great. This deck actually has so much backer removal that they can probably just remove your Fire King Island, and then that will just board wipe you and force your triggers on a empty board, and then you can't target them if well, any of the special summon Pearly cards, if Stray Pearly Street is on the field, so your Promethean Princess isn't going to get much mileage, I don't think, because it won't do anything to normal summons, and then special summon monsters you can't target, right? So that this is like going to rail this actually. And this deck, no one should be playing this honestly, so this matchup's not even worth talking about. And then this matchup here, well, all of your destruction effects trigger the tier limit monsters, so there's not like a super good point in time to do removal effects, specifically with destruction, so that's not great against this. If Spirit of Yubel is ever summoned, it's just not going to be a good time for you because all of your removal is primarily destruction. And then these guys just essentially just infinitely float and you can't really get rid of them. So that doesn't look great either. So I believe there are some decks that are playable, but this deck not playable, this deck not playable, I think. And then Summon Great deck is probably just fine. And then Yubel fine, Early fine, Tearlament fine. If this goes second, it's pretty rough though, because it's hard to set up, unless you're maybe playing one of these two. I don't think you have good setups against tier. That where you're playing the mirror. In which case, the mirror for this, oh, disconnect. The mirror is really bad here, because out of all the decks here, this is the only 6D card deck. So if you see your opponent has, like 55 cards in main, you know you're playing the mirror. So then you just make Dweller, and then you're good. You win. That's all this is. And here's a good example of one I played. So let's go here to match history, and I believe it's this game. We can confirm our opponent's deck here. Okay, so I am going first in this duel, and uh, yeah, this is what happens if you go first. Essentially, it's completely unplayable. All right. So here we're going to just do special summon Sharon, sending Rhino, Rhino special summon, sending the Grief, and then this will keep going. Kick Cal, send, mill, mill more. Uh-huh. And then we'll trigger all of this. Great. Shuffle back the Tortoise. I'm pretty sure, right? Oh, no, we don't. Okay, we're just making Rukilus. Never mind. Whatever. So now we just grab right here. We're grabbing Perlerino. So we can normal summon Sharon. But we also milled Snow, so we can special summon the Snow. And that works as well, but it's better for the Snow to be in the graveyard, and you'll see why in a second. So we make Dweller here, and we're going to set Celiac. So I know the other deck plays Dark Ruler no more, and it also plays Forbidden Droplet. So right here, my opponent, if they do not have a trap with Droplet, they will lose the duel immediately. And that's all they could hope for. So they're activating Walls of the Imperial Tomb. First thing that they're doing is this, which is honestly a bit of a mistake, but whatever. So Droplet, send Mudora, Dotscaper. Now they're activating Mudora. It doesn't matter if they wait on the Mudora, because I'm going to banish the Dweller for cost. It doesn't matter if the Fairy Tale Snow special summons itself or not. And boom, negate whatever you want on my board. Solik is still active. So I can send Rukalos later with the effect of Celiac, summon it back, and then I still have the negate for this, and then I can send the tier cash off of that negate right here. And if you do send one tournament card from your hand or face the field to the graveyard, we could even send Celiac if we wanted off of this to trigger it. And my opponent adds Grass, which does absolutely nothing because I resolved Dweller. So yeah, 0 effects can activate here. So essentially, I knew to do this because of the card count. I don't have to gamble at all. Yeah. So I resolved Dweller. GG. Not much you can do here. That is essentially the mirror, and it's pretty unplayable. and this is turn 0, so this duel didn't even happen. I don't know why this showed up in my match history, but okay, I guess. So essentially, the best few decks to be playing are going to be this one. This one is fine. I'm not 100% sure how good this would be. The primary issue with this is just that you have a lot of destruction as your removal, which kind of sucks. But on the bright side, you have the DD Crow, which is really good against all the other decks here, pretty much. And then Yubel is Yubel, but in terms of like just the hand traps, this runs like no hand traps aside from like Shifter, which if they resolve, GG, I guess. Like not much you can do about that. And then this list, you run like all these hand traps, which aren't going to do much to Yubel, I don't think. And then this list just runs a bunch of board breakers, and then it's just going to sit on a fat Zeus, and that's going to be a little bit painful. But with how many activations of Zeus you can probably get with this, it's going to be rough to play against that scenario with any of these decks for the most part. Except for this one being able to negate the Zeus, I think. There isn't much else in the way of being able to remove the Zeus fairly well. I guess this might be able to deal with Zeus, kind of. Depending on the exact hand, it could matter, I guess. If I start thinking about like Phantom of View Bell and that activating, yeah, that becomes kind of annoying. And that would run through the Zeus negates, or not Zeus negates, the Zeus effects pretty fast, so yeah. All of the decks not being playable is just something I don't really like about this event. But, you know, it's pretty interesting, I guess. It would be better if we could take them into ranked rather than just fight all of these decks, like, to match up against these decks, because some of these are just not very good into the decks that are available. And of course, the mirror has to be considered as well. In which case, pretty simple answer for the majority of these. If you're going first, that's it. You know, if you're going first, you're doing much better against your own list. In this case, this one is good against itself. This one is really good against itself. This one is good against itself. Uh, this one is going to cook itself, I'm pretty sure. Bell Mirror, I'm actually not 100% sure, but my guess is that it favors the going first player, right? And then for this one, I think this is the only one where the going second player might have advantage because there's just so much back row removal. You can probably remove the My Friend and then maybe try go for Zeus, unless there is a fat X Pearly Noir setup, in which case you lose. So this one I'm not 100% sure. I would have to actually test the consistency of this one, which I'm not 100% certain on, but this feels like more of a going second deck, so I think the going second player might be favored, not or the going first. This one is the only one where I am not 100% certain who is favored. But yeah, the matchups, not great. And oh, also worth mentioning is for the most part, these decks are tailored to like who is playing them because they were, I'm assuming, built by these players, right? So even if we were playing the same archetype, I would not play them the same way because of my preferences. So yeah, there's also that. So I don't really like these loners in particular and how they play. So yeah, that's all I got for you guys today. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.